Hello everyone, in this video we will take a look at a Python script that I have developed using which we can delete AWS resources based on tags. This script will be useful in the situations where you are testing or trying out new resources and then you want to delete all of them in a single go. For now, this script can only delete the EC2 instances, Lambda functions and then S3 buckets. Now let me show you a quick demo. This is the script that I have been developing. Now let's quickly take a look at the AWS resources that I have created. Here are the two buckets. This is the bucket that I have configured with the tag of test and the value will be true. The same goes for EC2 instances. I have configured one with the tag of test and true. I simply left the other one without any tags so as to demonstrate the actual working of the script. Same goes for the Lambda functions. Let me quickly show the tags of the first function. We'll click on configuration and click on tags. We can see that key is test and value is true. Likewise for the other function, I have not defined any tags so that we can see a difference while the script is working. We can see there is no tags. Now let's run the script. I'll use the command python3 main.py, press enter. It will ask for the region where you want to delete the resources. If you simply press enter, it will choose the default region of US East 1. Now my resources are created in US East 1. If you have any other regions, you can simply type the corresponding region code. I'll keep it as default. So I'll simply press enter. Now we have to enter the tag key and the tag value with a space between them. So as you saw earlier, the tag key is test and value is true. Now once I press enter, it will show all the resources that are matching with the tags and then it will ask for a confirmation whether to delete the resources or not. Now I'll press enter. Now as you can see, this was just a little sort of warning that this bucket didn't have any tags. So the main output is here. You can see this instance has the tag. This bucket has the tag configured that we specified test and true. And this is the Lambda function. We'll quickly check that. This is the instance ID. As you can see, this is the instance that has the tag of test and true. So it ends in 89D. We can confirm that. Next is the bucket. I am Epic Bugs. We can see this is the bucket that has a tag and this is the bucket name. That's correct. And the function is testing function 1. Click on functions. Testing function 1 and let's check for the tags. Yes, so we can confirm that the tags function is working. Now it asks for the confirmation. If you simply press enter, it will select N and it will not do anything. Let me show that. As you can see, nothing was deleted. So I'll run the script again to delete all the things. Press enter for default. Enter the tag of test true. Press enter. Now I'll press Y and enter. So it says that deleting all the mentioned resources and it has not given any errors. Now let's check all the resources. Click on bucket and let's refresh it. You can see the first bucket is deleted. Likewise for the instances, let it refresh. As you can see, the first instance is being shutting down. Let's wait for more time. Meanwhile, we'll check on Lambda function. Click on functions. Refresh here. After refreshing, we can see the first function is deleted. Now let's quickly check on the instances. As you can see, the first instance is terminated. Enough with the demo. Now let's see how to set up the script. To get started with the script, we need Python installed on our system. For that, we'll use the command sudo apt install python3-y. You can use the appropriate package manager for your distro. Next, we need to also install pip. For that, we use the command sudo apt install python3-pip-y. Now that both the dependencies are installed, we need to get the access token for the IAM user so that we can delete the resources. For that, let's go to the AWS console, search for IAM, click on IAM, click on users. I'll choose my user. Now we need to go on to security credentials. Here you can see I have already created an access key. You may not have this. Now let's create an access key. For this, keep it other. Click on next. This is optional. Let's leave it as it is. Click on create access key. Now copy the access key and the secret access key and keep it somewhere safe. We will need that to configure the AWS credentials. Now click on done. Now open up the shell. Go to the home directory. Create a directory named .aws. I have already created it. Let me navigate into it and create a file name credentials. Press enter. Make sure you add the first line as default inside the square brackets and then use AWS underscore access underscore key underscore ID equal to the access key that you obtained earlier. Next would be AWS underscore secret underscore access underscore key and set it to the secret key. Next, you can choose the default region. Once you have finished this, save and exit the file. One more important note, make sure that the user that you are using for creating the credentials has sufficient permissions to delete the resources. Now let's move on to cloning the repo. Navigate to this repo. I'll put this link in the description. Once you are here, click on copy the URL to clipboard, or you can simply download the zip file. Go into the directory of your choice. I'll clone the repo here using the command git clone and then paste the URL. Navigate into the repo. Now in order to run the script, we need a module called Boto3 which interacts with the AWS API. For that we need to install it using the pip, and then before we install it we need to create a virtual environment so that we keep the dependencies separate and isolated. To create a virtual environment, use the command python 3 -m venv and then the name of the virtual environment. I'll keep it .venv. Press enter. Now we have to activate this virtual environment. For that, use the command source.venv. Under that we have a directory name build and then we have a file name activate. Once we press enter, we'll get a indication like the virtual environment is activated. As you can see, we get a little indication here. Now we can install the module. For that, pip install boto3. Once the module is installed, we can run the script by using python 3 main.py. For now we don't have any errors of importing any modules. Now let's quickly create the resources. For this demo, I'll just create a single Lambda function and I'll show you how to add the tags. This is the normal way of creating the Lambda functions. You can click on additional configurations, click on enable tags and add new tag. We'll use the tag that we used earlier, test and true. Click on create function. We'll give a name for the function. Click on create. Once you created the function, now if we run the script, we'll only get the results of the Lambda functions. Rest all should be empty. Now let's run the script. Keep the region as default. Enter the tag and the value. We can see both of these arrays are empty, that is instances and buckets, since we didn't create it now, and then only function 1 is shown. Press Y and enter. Now we can assume that the Lambda function is deleted. Let's check it quickly. Go to functions and refresh. We'll confirm it by going to functions. We can see there are no functions here. One more thing to note here, if we run the script again, since there are no resources configured with the tags now, it will simply exit saying that no resource exists. Keep the default and then enter the tag. Press enter. As you can see, no resources with the tag found to be delete. Now I'll quickly explain the important functions inside the script. So we import the module that we installed and then exception that we use later on while dealing with S3. This is the code where we set the default region to US East 1. If the input is not given, or else it is blank, it is set to US East 1, or else it is set to the input that you have provided. Here we create the clients that we will use to interact with the respective services, and then here we get the instances based on the tags. Here we can get the input tag and the input value. We have defined that here, input tag and input value. Once we get the response, we iterate it through it and get the instance ID and then append it to the array here. Next we move on to S3 client. Here we need to first get all the buckets and then get the bucket tags for each bucket and then compare it whether it is equal to the tag that we provided and then add it to the buckets list here. Next we do the same for the Lambda functions and then we create a method which handles deleting of all the resources. It checks if there are any elements present in the instance IDs list and then goes on to delete all the instances. Does the same for the buckets list. Now for the case of buckets, if there are objects uploaded in the buckets, we need to first delete it and then we need to delete the bucket. So there are two things in buckets, that is versioning enabled and not enabled. If it is enabled, we have to delete the versions first and then delete the bucket. If it is not enabled, we need to delete the objects and then delete the bucket. Next we do the same for the Lambda functions, and then here is the final note that I said. So if there are no instances or buckets or Lambda functions found with the tag that we have provided, it simply says no resources. Otherwise it proceeds to show the functions and then we'll ask for the confirmation. So this is it for this one. If you found this tutorial helpful, like, share and subscribe to the channel for more such videos. Thank you.